Welcome back to Let's Talk. I'm Chad Landers. Hope you've enjoyed the show so far because we've got another great interview lined up. My next guest played football in the LL League back in the mid-90s, and his teams went a combined 33-4 in his 3 years of varsity play. Let's welcome to the show Cocalico grad Tab Musser. Tab, thanks for coming on Let's Talk. Looking forward to reliving some of those memories with you.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, for sure. But before we get into some of those high school memories, why don't you catch everybody up what you're up to these days?
Sure. So I'm a father of three beautiful girls, which keeps me out of trouble and off the streets. I'm also currently employed in education administration at the Hempfield School District. So still around the high school football scene, just in a very, very different form.
Yeah, and still checking out the Cocalico football scene from what I heard, as we can get into that a little bit here. But also I heard something, you played 3 sports at Cocalico back in the day. I heard it was football, obviously, wrestling, and then volleyball maybe in the spring. So where does that 3-sport combo come from? I haven't heard too many of those.
I mean, 5'11", 230. Why would I not be playing volleyball? I don't understand why there's any confusion there. I really wasn't that good at volleyball. I don't know that I was too good at some of those other sports either, but I had a great time being physical and having a great time with teammates. And basically, they called me into the front row on volleyball just to spike. Wasn't so good on the passing and some of those highly skilled positions there on the volleyball court, but wrestling was a great time as well. Great coaches, great camaraderie. Definitely one of the most challenging sports that I've ever participated in. I have so much respect for wrestlers, both in the high school level and the collegiate level. The commitment to do what they do is amazing. And football was my love.
Yeah, and we are going to get into football here. You finished your career, I looked at the stats, 4,092 career rushing yards, which is good enough for 3rd all-time in Cocalico history. But for a while there, you were leader in the clubhouse. So how did that feel being at the top of the mountain? And then obviously you had to watch Austin Hartman kind of come along and then break some of your records.
Oh, I mean, like with anything else, it's great to be on top of the pile. But knowing as soon as I got out, some of the talent that was coming through, actually had the privilege of coaching some of those young men coming up through junior high, especially with Austin. It was only a matter of time, and to be passed by him and then others moving forward. Obviously, an honor just to be mentioned with them. They're great young players and very exciting, and in a tough league with some tough teams. So. Very admirable, absolutely.
For those watching at home, I believe it is Austin Hartman, Noah Palm, then you. So that's where you sit in the history. And talking about history, the legacy of Cocalico running backs, the Veer seems to work over there for so many years. It's churned out a lot of quality guys, rushed for a ton of yards. Some of the names that kind of come to mind, Randy Hall, a former teammate of yours, of course yourself, Austin Hartman, Spencer Moser, Brandon Brubaker. Those are just a few of the guys that are kind of towards the top there. What is it like to be a part of that Cocalico running back fraternity?
It's great. I know when we get together at certain events, we don't do that much anymore. It's great to have some of those arguments about who was better and whose line was doing the most work. Again, depending if you talk to Randy Hall, I mean, the line earned all my yards. So, and you know what? I don't know that I discredit that. I had some real men in front of me. And Coach Kaufman and Coach Ginrich kept it simple for me. Grab the ball and run that way downhill. The Veer is a nice, easy offense that way for us. Really? So it was about being physical and executing. And we didn't do a lot of things early on, but the things that we did do, we did fairly well. And that was really the premise behind some of the offense and how we operated.
Cool. All right. Well, how about your brothers? They were in the program too, right? At some point they came after you. Did they all play the same position as you? And I did happen to see that none of them ever caught you, by the way, in the record book.
Yeah, so both my brothers played. Both my brothers did play running back in our offense. My Brock Musser would be my younger brother, my middle brother, and he played inside linebacker as well as I did. And Zach Musser, my youngest brother, played D-end, I believe, and he also did some long snapping. So we were all part of the program for a long time, and it really is a program that means a lot to us as a family. There's so many memories there in that stadium, and traveling with coaches and friends and family. Just really what high school football is about for families, and bringing people together Friday night under the lights. So great memories, absolutely.
Yeah, and lots of them involved legendary Cocalico football coach Phil Kaufman. His teams so successful all of those years. What was he like as a coach? What made him so good and his team so good?
He was very intense. He was very purposeful, and he was very intense. And I think I alluded to it a little bit earlier in my response. Like, he wasn't about the flash. I think anyone that looks at some of our statistics and plays and things, it wasn't about the flash. It was about the fundamentals of the game. It was about teaching us to be quality young men, teaching us to work as a team and to stand up for each other, and how on a football team it's unique because everybody has a role to play. And if you don't play that, if you let roll out, other people can be, it impacts the player. Someone could be injured, or just how important all those pieces are together, and how you have a role to play in that machine. I'll never forget my first year there. We had the chain gang, and we all had pieces of chain that, we knew we had to get 3 1/3 yard every down. And as long as we got that, we'd be getting a first down at the end of the 4. So just an example, but he was very about the fundamentals of the game, and teaching good quality and how young men should act on the field, and how we should treat teammates and even opponents.
All right, so speaking of the Coach Kaufman era, special group of Eagles here from 1992 to 1997. Cocalico won the Section 3 title 5 of those 6 years. And one of those years, you played on the 1994 Cocalico team that won the District 3 AA championship. You beat a very good Bishop McDevitt team in the semis, and then you beat Juniata in the finals. What memories do you have of that 94 team, and especially that playoff run where you beat that McDevitt team? It was a pretty defining win for that program, for your program.
Yeah, so preparing for that week was unlike anything that we've prepared for up until that point in the season. There was a team with a very different offense, high powered. They had I think it was Rakai Nelson as the wide receiver at that point. They had a quarterback who was extremely mobile, could throw on the run, could run himself. I remember us shifting up the whole defense and going to a single middle linebacker, which I was able to play and mirror the quarterback. I'll never forget the last drive, which sometimes I see on Cable 11. It's one of those ones where you always got to stop and watch. I'm pretty sure I know how it ends. I still get a little nervous when Josh Solo catches the pass. When we get down there, when we get the touchdown, and the decision for 2 was never really a decision. Yeah, that's a great memory for me from that Bishop McDevitt. That was one of those underdog stories where I think the coaches were honest with us from the beginning. We were underdogs. They were clear. Hey, we're underdogs, and not just a little bit. But we really took that role and we ran with it, and they prepared us. We spent evenings just studying tape, and it was really an all-out team effort. One of the best feeling wins, if that's a thing that I can remember in my high school football career. Just a great feeling.
Yeah, I remember Sola, that catch, I think it was 4th and long, and then also you got the touchdown and you went for 2 for the win, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Again, I remember Coach coming out, and Coach Kaufman. He's like, well, "What are you doing?" And right away, Randy's like, "We're going for 2." Like, so I don't know. By the time Coach got out to the huddle, I think we all decided that 2 was the answer. Now, we feared Kaufman, so if he would have said 1, we would have done it. But 2 was the answer, and we got out there. You could see it in his eyes. 2 was his answer, and from there on, the play was already decided, and we were off and running.
Cool. All right. So you guys win the district championship. Pretty cool moment. The next year in 95, you guys are undefeated. You go back to the district championship. You get McDevitt again, and boy, did they get their revenge on you guys. Ended your season 11-1. What was different from the 94 to the 95, do you think?
Wow. They were a complete team on every side of the ball, and I don't want to take anything away from the Cocalico brethren and the team that we played with, and I was honored to play with them. McDevitt was a complete team on every side of the ball. The level of discipline that they had, as opposed to the year before, was evident. Anyone that watches football knows that when you have a upset win like that, you know that's going on a bulletin board somewhere, and that McDevitt was looking forward to us coming around a second time, and I give them credit. A great program, well executed, well disciplined players, and they played a great game.
Okay, so 96 then. We go to your senior year, another great year for you guys, and you get into the playoffs. You're going up against Mannheim Central. I read the clippings. It was this big showdown between the offenses in that game, and they beat you pretty good. That actually happens to be the beginning origin of the Cocalico Mannheim rivalry in the playoffs, where to this day you guys have yet to beat them. What do you remember about that game? I mean, it was hyped up going into it. Yeah. Didn't quite go your guys' way.
Yeah, I remember it being close early. I remember it going back and forth early. I do remember us being down in a goal line situation, and we had an unfortunate fumble where we were going to cash that in and then actually go up again. Once we had that turnover, they took the ball from there, and then they never looked back. We had an incredibly hard time stopping the run. The running back's name,
Doherty.
I think it was Doherty.
Yeah.
But we had a very tough time stopping the run. They controlled the play for rest of the game, and again, it ended up being a pretty solid win for their program from that point on. And as you mentioned, that one hurt.
Yeah.
That one hurt because we didn't. That was the first time we got to play Central. We've been reading the newspaper articles about each other's teams for how many years? Yeah. It was kind of like, well, if we ever ran into you, well, but we know what happens if we did. So, and it didn't work out well for me.
Yeah. Hey, I did hear, did Eric Ackerman have any, like a broken thumb or something going into that game? Do you remember any?
Oh, that guy was always complaining about broken fingers and things. He was fine.
Okay.
I mean, who on the football field doesn't have a broken finger or two?
I don't know.
I'll give him credit. Maybe one broken finger, but not more than one.
Oh, was it more than one? Okay.
Not more than one.
I heard rumor it might have been two, but that's okay.
It's tough to say.
All right, let's fast forward to 2019. So you guys in 94 win the district title. 25 years later, Cocalico wins it in 2019. As a Cocalico Eagle alum, what was it like watching the team that season? And Coach G is able to get him to that district title. How did that feel, for Cocalico?
There's a tremendous sense of pride, and again, as we're speaking, you're speaking to a former player, and you would expect that answer. I would go as far as just to say there's just such a sense of pride in the community for our football program as a whole, and the support that comes out to the games and the following, and it was really a community effort overall. There's just such a sense of pride. And the boys that set foot on that field and the way they played and executed, I stay in touch with Coach Ginrich as well, and it really was a big win for the district, a validation of years of work and the program that continues to evolve. If you watch the field, it's a little more flashy than the straight up veer. There's a few more passes. I won't say there's a ton more, but it's a little bit of a different offense. It continues to evolve, and the program and the tradition of Coach Kaufman to Coach Ginrich and now to Coach Stroll is just there's so much planning and forethought in the program and carrying on tradition. It's something that I'm not only proud of, but the community as a whole is just very proud of.
All right, well said, Tab. Thanks so much for going back through the memories. I know it's been a long time, but hopefully people at home watching will enjoy hearing all of those. Appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on Let's Talk.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
An all-time great running back for Cocalico right there. Just love diving into the history books, hearing some of those guys' stories. A lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed that. Plenty more great guests coming up on the show this year as we wrap up a long 2020. Thanks to Tab Musser for coming on. Thanks to Jillian Wogelmuth for joining me. Thank you for watching at home. I'm your host, Chad Landers. Come on back next time for more conversations on a brand new episode of Let's Talk.